Hi all, welcome to the channel, welcome to the workshop. So on the back of the brand new build of the 66 Batmobile, we now have the last stage of build kit from Knight Rider. So let's get into it, let's get building. Right, so here we are, the final build pack. Now, this is everything we have so far. So we've got the body that we've been working on recently. We haven't seen the chassis for quite some time. We've obviously got the rear number plate, we've got the rear lights, we've got the rear light lens, and we've got the two sills that we have actually put on, but I do know that they need to come off for what we're going to be doing next. Also, they kept falling off, so I just left them off anyway. But we're not doing anything with any of this in the very first stage of this very last pack. So we're going to clear all this out of the way, and we'll get on to issue 107. Right, so this is what we have in issue 107. And as per usual, I'll give you a quick flick through the magazine. And we've got the boot liner, effectively, or the luggage liner. And as you can see, we're just assembling that at the moment. So we have this bit of material, which is the luggage liner. I think we should get the iron on that, but it will be fine. It will flatten itself out. We're concentrating on the short edge here. And the first we're going to be getting is this piece here. This is one of the smaller hole, and we've got this detail here. And you notice the ends are chamfered, so we know that's going to go that way round. We're then going to flip that over. And this piece is going to match it on this side here. And then we're going to use the QP screws to screw through the material from the top of this into this one here. Again, just making sure that the sides are matched up. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get this one corner secured in first, then this corner, and then we'll put the rest in. Just like that. So we've got the one in, I'm going to put one in this end, and then we get the rest all done. Top tip, if you haven't done this one already, get a couple of clamps to hold it whilst you're trying to get the screws to go in and hold the material. And we just got the last one going in there. So that's looking just like that. We've got nothing going into this hole because we need to take this clasp. That's going to go into that hole. And then from this side, we're going to use an RP screw to screw that down, secure that in place. So at the end of stage 107, we have something that looks like that. Now I'm going to leave that there because on 108, we're going to be using that as well. Right, so issue 108. And as you can see, we're still working on the cover, but we are going to be adding it into the bodywork. So by the time we finish, we have it inside the body and it will look just like that. Right, so the first thing we're going to be looking at is the cover and the rails. So we've got two rails, we've got one shorter than the other, and they're going to sandwich together like we did on the front. So we're going to take our cover, we're going to use our shorter rail, and place that just underneath there. And like we did before, we're going to sandwich that together like so, and we're going to secure those together with the QP screws again. Right, so that's all now clamped together like that. I've now brought the body back up because we're going to be placing it in the back. And to do that, we're going to need one of these parts. We've got them marked left and right, and it's the left one we're working on at the moment. So this left one is going to go just in here. And there is a little tab and a hole for this to go into. Just going to use my partwork upgrades map for this, because the best way to do this, I think, is going to be just turning the car on its side. Obviously, watching out for doors opening, etc. We're going to secure it with a DP screw just in here. Don't know if you can actually see that on camera. Maybe on the top camera you can see it. So we've got a DP screw just going in there to hold that in place. So that's now in there just like that. Right, so for the other side, what we're going to be doing, we're going to take our cover and we're going to be placing this one on the end of that. We're also going to be getting our cog and placing that on the end too. Now there is a D-shaped pattern, so we're going to make sure that lines up correctly on there, and that's going to hold that piece in place like that. We then need to put this end into the cylinder here, and this end needs to go back into the place on the side here as we did the other side. So that goes in there. Try and find the hole for it to go into, and then we've got that one going in just like that. And again, going to secure it from underneath with a DP screw. So that is now looking just like that, and it will hook into the back there, like so. Now we've got the option of just rolling this cover back like that, and again rolling it out and hooking it in. And that is all there is to do in that stage. Right, so issue 109, I'm going to leave Kit up here on the workbench because the next time he leaves his workbench, he will be fully assembled. So, flick through the penultimate stage. And as you can see, we're going to be assembling some of the components we've had already. We do have the inner wheel arches for the rear. These are plastic, so you know. I know we had metal ones for the front, but these ones are plastic. And we're going to be placing the tail lights in. Going to be placing the rear bumper in. Going to be placing the wheel arches in that we've got this time around. And that is going to be pretty much the bodywork complete. Right, so since the last time you saw these, there have been a couple of mods. I haven't filmed them as separate mods because they're quite basic. I basically just painted and blacked out most of the chrome on this so that it doesn't show through the rear light bar too much. Also, there is a very minor mod to this one. What I've done, I've just sprayed the back of it with some more tint spray just to give it that darker look, so that when it does go over the top of that, you can see that it's pretty much not visible through there at all. So it really does hide those rear lights when they're off. The other mod I've done, you'll notice, this hasn't actually been modded, but what I have done, I've removed the LED from there. And the reason for that is if I flip Kit over slightly, you'll see I've got the LED just here. Now the reason I've got the LED there is because I've created a new wiring loom to include the rear marker lights. Now, I didn't do a video of this, mainly because I've done a marker light video for the front, and it's pretty much the same. However, what I have done with this one, instead of sparing off the existing wire, I have basically created myself a new wiring loom. So I've got this with a resistor for the red lights and then the white light as a separate there as well. Right, so moving on to the actual stage itself, we're going to be placing in the lights. Might need a slight bend for them to go in. And following that up with the lens itself. We're going to use the QM screws to hold that in place. Now, because we're going into metal, I have dipped these in oil. I'm going to start with that middle one. So it's got the last one going in here. Now, I would suggest not doing these too tight because you don't want to obviously crack this lens. So I'm just going to go back through and just tighten them up just to the point where it's holding it in place. Just like so. Next we have the rear bumper. Now, I do have this LED to plug in. You won't have that if you haven't done any modifications. Then the bumper will go on there. And we're going to use the BP screws to secure them both sides, here and here. And hopefully you can see that on one camera at the very least. Right, so that's all four of those screws in there now. And just while I've got kit this way up, you can probably just about see what I've done with the wiring. We'll make sure those wires are out the way. So I've got this new cable. This is going to go into the one labeled P on the chassis. I've just split it off onto three cables actually. One's feeding this repeater, this side light. One's feeding this light, and then there's the other one that's feeding this light just here. It was easier to create a brand new loom than try and splice into the current one. So that's what I've done with that one. The last thing we're doing with this stage is we're going to be putting in these two wheel wells. And they've just got two posts, which are going to hook onto the posts you see in here. Now, interestingly enough, this one has a screw in on mine. That may have been from when there was a crossbar in there. I'll just take that one out. I'm just going to place that in like so. And we're going to use two of the VM screws to secure that in place. That's those two in there. And then we've got this one, and obviously we need to make sure that we don't trap any of these wires and that they're still all accessible when we come to join this together. And obviously you want to make sure that any of the wires that are running through here are not anywhere near over the top of those posts. And I would say before putting your screw in, it's probably worth just having a peer down into the holes and just double check that there are no wires in there. Right, so those are now in there. Obviously going to keep the bodywork up here because there is only one stage to go, and you know that what that means for the bodywork and the chassis. Right, so here we are, the final stage. And as you can see, we haven't got a great deal to finish off. We're going to be looping the belts through. I know some people potentially have removed these belts already, so but I've decided to keep them in. We do need to remove the sills. As I said, I've already done that on this one. Now, interesting enough, we actually have to tape these down. Now, right at the very beginning, I taped mine down because I thought that was going to be a case. So I'll replace my tape with the proper stickers. And then it's going to be a case of joining the wires. I don't know how well that's going to come across on camera. And then we're going to be placing this body over the chassis. And then we've got the screws to hold them all in place. And it's all the XM screws. We've got a couple of BP screws to go in for the final touch for the seat belts. And then we've got to connect this final hose up in the engine bay. Right, so I've just organised these parts. So we've got the left parts and the right parts. Some of these are marked with an L or an R. The seatbelt bit retainer that goes on the edge of the seats, as far as I can see, is not marked. So just going by the image for that one. Same with this one. So we're going to bring KITT over. And we're going to look at doing the left side first, which is going to be this side. The first thing we're going to be doing is getting our seatbelt, and we're going to be passing it through this piece here. Like so. Now we do need to do the same thing for the right hand side, so I'm going to do them in tandem. So we've got the right hand side. Again, that's going through just like that. Roll that one all the way down. And then we have these two pieces here, which will sandwich together. The seatbelt needs to go through. Right, so we're putting the end of the seatbelt through here. And then we're going to be sandwiching that in there with this piece. That's just going to go like so. And then we've got one of the SP screws. That's going to go there. And the SP screw is going to go right through the whole lot, piercing that seat belt as well. That's in there just like that. I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other side. So seat belt through the slot, making sure that comes down over that screw hole. That is then going to go in there, sandwiching that together. And again, SP screw. And that's going to go just there on those two pegs. And this SP screw goes all the way through again. So we've got that held in just like that. Going to move the bodywork to one side for a minute and bring the chassis back up. And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove my tape from these LEDs. And we're going to use a bit of tape that they have supplied. I'm going to put one on this side and one on the other side, making sure those LEDs are fully pushed in. I'm just taping it in place. And doing the same just on this side here. that's all covered like so. I will try my best to show you this going together, but knowing how things have been in the past with bodywork and joining, it might not be the easiest thing. So the first thing we're going to be doing is joining all of the cables together. Now, I think they are all pretty much color coded. So even if you've lost your little tags, etc. on the ends, then it's just a case of joining all the cables together. We've got grey and white together. We have green and red, which is the motor, I believe. We have the green and white cable, which is the fog lights. And then we have the grey and black one, which are the headlights. And then the last one we have is the scanner light. Now, this is the shortest one on the body, but the longest one on the chassis. And it does just reach like that. So I've got all that wired up together like so. Now, pretty much all of this wiring is going to disappear down behind this bulkhead and under the dash. So they say about taping this together. I'm probably going to leave it as it is because I think it's probably going to be a little bit easier being able to poke individual wires than a whole mess of wires. Right, so the next thing we need to do is the rear wires. So we don't have very much flex on any of these. And again, it's going to be a case of wire up the correct colours. Now, I've got one exception, that P on mine is a custom wire. But then we've got these ones here. Now, it might be an idea to prop the front end of KITT up when doing this. I'm going to do that with a roll of wire and a piece of foam to protect. And then we've got enough scope just to wire these together. Right, now I believe that was the easy part, wiring all this together. The difficult bit is going to be getting KITT's bodywork on top of here whilst navigating all of these cables. So we know that these rear ones are a little bit short, so I'm just going to roll KITT over slightly. We're going to now put KITT on his side. And I'll try and video as much of this as possible, but that might depend on how well this goes. And I'm probably only going to be able to use the top camera. But basically, all the wiring here is going to disappear into this space behind here, and all of this wiring is going to disappear behind here. Now, this wiring, it should be very simple because you can access it right to the end from the bonnet. This, however, is going to be a little bit more difficult, and it's probably going to be a lot easier to potentially trap a cable right where you need to put a screw through. So that is the crux of it, really, to really watch out for that piece there. Now, I've had this body on and off a few times. I've played about a little bit. I think one of the easiest options is you've got to put it on the back because the wings at the back are a little bit too narrow, and then you've got to bring it forward and then drop it down. Now, that sounds really, really simple, I know. However, this is going to be a little bit of trial and error. Now, I am going to spin KITT around so I can see the wires. And hopefully, we can get KITT's bodywork on. So at the minute, you can see that is just resting over the top. But now, I'm going to attempt to try and get this in place. Now, it's going to be probably a little bit easier if we have this access to this. I'm going to wind up the rear sheet, because as you can see, we've got a little bit access in here for this wiring, so we can allow that to tuck up. So lowering down the back. Oh, and I've just noticed already I've got a rear seat belt in the wrong place. So let's sort those out already. So we've got a rear seat belt there from the body and there. So make sure those are going across the seats. Same with the ones for the driver's seats and passenger seats. So they are in the right place. Right, so here we go. Lowering down the back. So the back is now below the chassis. And the body posts are just resting on the dash for the moment. So this is the point where we should be able to tidy up these rear wires. And make sure they get all nicely tucked in. I think they are. Right, I'm going to wiggle the body forward and try and start getting this to line up on the front here. Now, I have seen the FanHome video for doing this, and I can see that what they do, they pull out these sides. So I'm just pulling a little bit of pressure on the side sills, and you can see that the bodywork has already started to pass over the dash. Again, just double checking these cables at the back. Gonna again push the body forward because we now want it that the posts are going to line up in the gap. So I'm just going to now open the doors. I'm going to pull these sills out a little bit. And as you can see, it's starting to drop down. Now, if we lift the bonnet up, you can see this mass of wires just in there. So that's obviously what we need to start tucking down at some point soon. But we'll try and get these in place first. Right, don't want to trap that rear sheet now, so I've just flipped it over the back of the seats. I'm going to put a bit of pressure on the back here. Ensure that is fully forward now, as you can see. And now you'll notice that the front is now just dropping into place, which is exactly what we want to happen. And you'll see that the body now is more aligned and even. One thing that will get in your way at the back here, I can't show you because it's now hidden, is the fuel filler there. So that fuel filler needs to be made sure it's made completely out of the way. Now, as you can see at the minute, this front bit has come down all the way, but we still need to poke that wiring. So we need to even that out a little bit. And the best tool for the job is going to be one of these little spudgers. There's one you can poke into the dash. Make sure that wiring is going down that way. And again, just need to open the bonnet and start making sure these cables are also pushed all the way down and behind that dash. Right, so this body work is almost completely down. So just now need to give it a little bit more of a wiggle. Ensure, again, we're not trapping any cables at the back here. Right, that was a bit of a wrestle, but the bodywork is now down in place. So now we've got to flip the whole thing over, and we're going to be securing it together with some XM screws. Again, watch your doors and T-tops, etc., and also the rear hatch if you've got it open. Right, and I believe there's a total of 8 of these XM screws to go in. And again, I strongly recommend peering down and making sure that there are no cables trapped in any of the holes that you're going to be putting these in. Now I've just noticed I've got a stray cable just there. I don't want to trap. So just do that one. And I'll start off with this rear one here. Now for this I will switch over from my iFixit to a PH1 screwdriver, because right, that's those 8 screws in there. So we've got 2 here, we've got 2 here, 2 here, and 2 at the front here. So before we flip the kit back over, just going to put on the sills again. Very easy, just open that door, get that pushed in. Like that. And then we've got this one on this side. So that's all clicked in there. Let's just shut that boot. Right, let's flip it back onto his wheels for the last time. So now we're just down to the final finishing touches. And if I spin it around, hopefully you'll be able to see just in here, we've got the seat just there. I open that up with the little gap just there. Well, that's where we need to place this part of the seatbelt retainer, and that's just going to go, try not to twist it, that's just going to go in there like so. we're going to use a BP screw to hold that in place. I'm going to do the same for both sides. And that's in there just like that. And the very, very, very last job we need to do is open up the bonnet. And we've got this hose just here. And there is a nipple just on the bulkhead here. And that's just going to go on there. Like so. And that is all there is to do in that stage. And that is all there is to do for Knight Rider. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please remember to give a big thumbs up. So Kit is done. That's the last time he's going to be featured on this channel. I'm really pleased to say that after that little build, massive build where putting the body and the chassis together, I'm pleased to say that everything is still working. So we've got the scanner. We have all the lights. And we have all the other functions that came with.
I am the voice of Knight Idustries 2000's microprocessor, K.I.T.T for easy reference, the KITT if you prefer.
So that's absolutely fantastic. I will do a little bit of a showcase and you can see all the parts in absolute detail, including the little bits that I've modified, including giving KITT a little bit of a better face with some nice bright white LEDs. Also, the marker lights are lit up, front and back. And then coming around the rear, we have a white LED for the number plate, and we have this slightly more smoked, blacked out look on the rear for the rear lights. So, KITT is done. I do hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please remember to hit the thumbs up button. Also, remember to hit that subscribe button and ding that bell. And then you'll be notified what else goes on in the workshop. So, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Right, so I'm just going to go over a couple of my mods that I've got on KITT. So these lights, one, they're smoked, so they're a little bit darker, but two, they're also brighter because I've changed them to bright white LEDs, which looks absolutely fantastic on KITT. You'll notice that the headlights are currently not popped up. That's due to my own mod, which is a switch at the rear, which I can control whether these lights come on or not, or whether they pop up. Another mod that I've done are these side marker lights. They light up. And coming around to the interior, we have the carpets by Mike Lane. They look absolutely brilliant. I've changed the displays here just using some coloured Sharpie on the back of these. so they look a lot better. They colour up a lot better rather than just a yellowy light that was there. And one of the best mods on this car is the 2 screens there that you can see, and they're done by Chloe Powell over at Model Mods, and they look absolutely fantastic. You can probably also see that I've actually blanked out a couple of those 2 LEDs. Well, there's one LED and I've blanked out a couple of the switches. So that is KITT in auto mode. And you'll see that again, I've done the same here. So only the top one is lit up, which is auto cruise, and the normal and pursuit modes are turned off. Coming around to the rear, again, got the marker lights. And as I said earlier, I've smoked these lights a little bit more, and I've changed the chrome that was in there to completely black. And even if I get the camera really close, you really cannot see through this to that chrome, which is brilliant. The last thing I've done, as you can just about see, I've got a nice bright white LED to light up the number plate there. And again, on the inside here, the trunk carpets by Mike Lane, as with these rear sail panels here, so they're no longer white as they were supplied. But that is KITT in its entirety, and I will just show you. I know some of you have actually purchased one of these. You can just about see under here, these are the LED light controls. So these can control all the different independent lights. So I could have just the headlights on, I could just have the rear lights on, I could just have the side lights on, etc.